So this is Shweta with GutsierLiving.com. I'm here with Dr. Sumit. We're actually on our way to the airport because he's headed back from an amazing weekend of teaching and doing consults on Marma Yoga here in New York City. So found this opportunity to just wanted to ask Dr. Sumit a few questions. But Dr. Sumit, if you can just introduce yourself briefly, and then we can dive in.
I'm Dr. Sumit from India. I have done my Ayurveda graduation from Buddha Medical College in 2002, and I've done my PhD in crossover medicinal plants from one of the reputed institutes, Bombay Natural Disease Society in Mumbai. I also traveled the Himalayas extensively to document old traditional and yogic practices and conserve medicinal plants and traditional healing practices. And I'm one of the few doctors who uses single herb therapy in my clinical practice to treat complex disorders. I have been here to share my part of the journey and also this arcane medical practice, yogic practice is known as Marma Yoga, to my students in a one-to-one traditions. And see, that's how I'm here.
So what makes Marma Yoga really unique from a lot of other things you yourself were trained in, also in yoga or Ayurveda? Like, what is very unique and different about this yoga, Marma Yoga?
The unique thing about Marma Yoga is its application part. Marma Yoga is a collection of practices which have been observed in high Himalayan lands and maybe in harsh conditions in India, of South India, to observing these great yogis who have developed breathing based techniques to keep their bodies perfect in spite of harsh geographical conditions, and to understand how they keep their body disease free. Marma Yoga also serves as a facet to understand the diagnostic value of how to treat disorders from a holistic point of view, which I feel is lacking in the modern yogic world, and it gives the insight to the people to take care of themselves in an independent way and not be reliant on many facets of treatment in today's world where people have multiple disorders and are doing all kinds of treatment.
Great. So when you say holistic, an organic apple is holistic or yoga is holistic. And so when you mean a holistic approach, what do you actually mean by that? Because people think they're living holistic lives by eating organic or exercising or doing yoga.
The term holistic has many interpretations. For me, the term holistic refers to the way a tradition is understood. For example, to give parallels, in today's world, a lot of time we do use herbs in our day-to-day lives, but we are not using them in a holistic way. We are trying to use them as a supplements or a substitutes for drugs which are used in modern medicine. Like, for example, if you have some sort of a pain, instead of Tylenol we might use turmeric. I don't think that is a holistic way of approaching your body. The holistic way is to understanding the root cause of the disorder in terms of your lifestyle, in the terms of the dietary changes you have made through the changes which have taken part in your life, and implementing them in a way that you have become independent and not be dependent on any kind of treatment, but live your life on your own terms, eating and living as it should be.
Great, thank you for that insight. So a lot of folks on the yogic path or even Ayurveda, various spiritual fasts, do a lot of fasting. Can you share your thoughts on fasting, what your perspective is on that?
I think fasting is good if it is done in a very logical way. If you see Ayurveda, fasting is one of the major treatments in most sort of disorders. A lot of people think fasting is a way to cleanse off toxins in the body, which is true in some sense. But by fasting, you enable the cells in your body or the tissues in your body to digest the food which they have stored. In other words, by doing long-term fasting in a very scheduled manner. I'm not saying a lot of people do haphazard fasting, like they'll go without water for 2 days. Some people will go without food for 2 days, maybe for religious reasons, spiritual reasons. But in Ayurveda, there is a methodical fasting where you fast at particular time. In fasting also you eat or drink certain type of medicated stuff which helps your body to nourish. The concept of nourishment in Ayurveda is understood in a form that you are giving the body only that much thing which it can digest. So your cells are always in state of constant hunger. This enables them to digest the stored food and the toxins inside them and eventually cause regeneration of cells. Also, due to fasting, there is a, if you have to see the parallels in modern medicine, there is a concept of apoptosis or programmed cell death. Most of the time the cells which are supposed to die do not die. Most of the times these cells die at an uncontrolled rate. By doing fasting, this kind of mechanism is again reinstated. The body's origin of cells, stability of the cells and destructions of the cell is neutralized, and eventually from the micrometabolism to the macrometabolism, each organ does its functions well, and eventually you get the benefits. So I think fasting, or Langhan as it is called in Ayurveda, is a very important tool to move towards health.
Great, thank you. And so if you can, there's a lot of, what do you feel what is the 3 biggest myths that you feel are not, that people think they're healthy, it's healthy for them, but it's really not supporting this holistic definition that you have? Like, what are, like, you have patients all over the world, right? So from your experience, what are like some things or trends that you're seeing that you're constantly sharing with your clients to be like, no, actually that's not true, or that's not actually really healthy? Or
I think instead of the biggest myth is the approach towards health. I think our minds have become concocted by things that whatever is chemical is bad and whatever is herbal is good. One has to understand that life, eventually you're going to die, and there is nothing called as health and unhealthy food. There are people and traditions in this world who have been eating so-called unhealthy food, for example, let us say raw meat in some parts of the world, for their life, and they never fall ill. There are people in this world who have just been eating good vegetarian food, of good organic quality, and still they have all disorders in the world. I always give this example. In Scandinavian countries, people have been sanitizing themselves from periods of time, and now we see autoimmune disorders rising in them. So one has to understand that your body is capable of digesting and adapting to situations. It is not about eating food and limiting yourself to certain kind of food, but to have a proper lifestyle, understand the body's function, eat when you are hungry, sleep when you are meant to sleep, and not do the reverse. Don't have haphazard lifestyles like eat one day and do not eat 2-3 days. A lot of people obsess themselves with modern ways of thinking of calories, carbohydrates, proteins, and you cannot generalize these things around the population of the world. Some people will have their own way of understanding, of assimilating these things, but we tend to generalize a lot of things, associate with that, and put it in our mind as a rudimentary thing with rigidity, and this causes a lot of problems. So if you ask me, the myth is to unlearn all these concepts and just follow what your proper lifestyle is. Study your traditions of where your gene metabolism lies from, where you have inherited your traditions from, how people in the world have adapted to situations over time, and implement in their life. Eventually if one understands these concepts well, understands that whatever you put in your body, if it is meat or vegetable, if your digestive power is good, it is going to transform it into a nutritious juice which is going to be absorbed by the body. You're going to get health. If it's not going to be digested, even if you drink the best of nectar, it is still going to turn into poison. So I think once these concepts are understood, the limitations of the mind would be removed, and people will be able to enjoy their lives in a much better way.
Great, thank you. And if we're gonna wrap up, so if there's one message that you would like to share with all folks out there, our viewers, and anyone that you're connected to, what would that be?
I would say be happy, let go, do not hold on to things in life. Life just moves on. By worrying, we only lose time in life. Understand why you are on this planet. Do not fuss over things you do not get, and do not be overtly happy about things you are getting very easily. Just focus on your talents. Think what you can do for yourself. Understand your desires, live them to the fullest, and eventually lead a happy, independent life. Eventually the goal of life is to be independent. You might have parents, you might have kids, you might have your spouses, but eventually you're going to live and die alone. So your body is your greatest temple. Preserve it, be independent, and move ahead in life.
Great. Thank you so much, and safe travels.
Thank you.